Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Trades Unfiltered, where I have Jason Melendez Jr. with us. He is just completed near the end of his first year as a sales technician. Had some serious accomplishments there, working at Legendary Heating and Cooling. And excited to hear how he accomplished that and just some personal reflections as well as he's been kind of moving along in that journey. So, Jason, thanks for joining me.
Ethan, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate for giving me the opportunity to share some of my knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Wow, you've literally just come off the back of the job. What time is it there for you?
It's 7:50 right now. So it's almost 8 o'clock p.m. Just finished up my
All
day.
right, 7:50 on a Friday evening. It's lunchtime here for me in Australia on Saturday. So really appreciate it, man. How about give me a picture of just what you've been able to accomplish, how long you've been in the space for, uh, where, yeah, how did you get to here?
Right. So I've been in I've been a sales technician for about 12 months now, consistently. I've sold $2.3 million in the time that I was blessed to be able to have this position. I am the top salesman for my company when it comes to revenue. And that's kind of what I've been able to achieve this far. Like I said earlier, I don't I don't think that this is anywhere what I could have done. I feel like, I could have done so much better. And I'm looking forward for 2026 to be able to do that and see what we can produce. But kind of a little bit about my story is I always knew in high school specifically, I kind of saw the way that the system was set up to create workers, right? It's people to be at a desk in an office, 9 to 5, take orders from their boss, and have to ask permission to go to the restroom, and the whole thing. And I saw it very early on, and it wasn't something that I knew that I wanted to get my life into. I was always fascinated by entrepreneurship. I was always fascinated by, like sales and being able to be so young and make so money. I hated that. Um, I really didn't like that I had to be, like, 30 before I can make, like, $100,000, like, with every college, like, job that there was. I didn't like that. So I wanted to be able to make a lot of money being young, and I also wanted to make sure I didn't feel like the Wolf of Wall Street while doing it. I wanted to be able to sleep at night, right? So I was fortunately very blessed to, I have parents who own a HVAC company, which is Legendary Heating and Cooling. They started the company when I was 8 years old, so I was really raised kind of around the industry of, HVAC, but I never wanted to be in HVAC by any means. I was so sick of doing it because my dad would make me work with him on weekends, and he'd make me work with him on summer breaks, winter breaks. And it was something that I just like wasn't really interested in because I saw it as, oh, I got to go work with my dad again. Anyways, my senior year of high school rolls around, and the question of, what am I going to do with my life starts coming up. And I'm 17 years old. And I have no clue what the answer is. All I know is I want to make a lot of money and I want to treat people right while doing it. I do not want to go to college, and I don't want to end up being someone who lives through my whole life and wish I made a different decision. So I decided, I was like, well, let me become an HVAC technician. I didn't know that this job had anything to do with sales. I just thought that I could
How,
work with my hands.
how
I
did
could
that
work.
make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when you've
So
got these big dreams, how did that make sense to you? Like, because you do want to make a lot. Was it just that you had seen other guys in your parents' business and what they had accomplished? Like, it sounds like big dreams. Okay, I'm going to install air conditioners in people's homes.
right. So basically my thought process at the time was, it was pretty much two things is what made me make that decision. Number one was, do I spend money and get into debt for college, or do I just start making money right now? That was the first thing that felt like a no-brainer to me. The second thing was, because I had that entrepreneurship mindset, I was thinking if I get into the trade and start by, being a technician or an installer or whatever it may be, once I learn it, I could either go to another state or another city and start my own or take over the company at some point. And so my view was initially the the uh the view of ownership, or the view of starting my own company. But I knew that I couldn't just go out and do that at 17 years old. I had to get the knowledge to be able to do that first. And that was kind of the way that I fell into the trade, even after growing up telling myself I would never go into an attic ever again.
Yeah, okay. Well, that makes sense. So you had the opportunity with your parents and you had the clear it was the fastest path to results in terms of
100%.
wanting to get some experience, wanting to get some money. And so, how long ago was that for you? Because you mentioned this is around 17. You got the hope you might start something else one day. How long ago was that? How recent?
Yeah, so I'm 19 now. I had this
Hmm.
conversation when I like was 17, just about to turn 18, in my last year of high school. Basically, what's happened between now and then is I took a technician training. So I went into like HVAC school. I went to multiple different schools to get as much knowledge as I could. And then I spent a lot of the other rest of that time leading to this year as actual like trainings, doing ride-alongs with other technicians, seeing what they're doing, right? And basically trying to learn the trade where I'm able to go out by myself and diagnose systems, where I'm able to myself talk to customers and things of that nature.
Yes. And so you start acquiring this technical knowledge. And at what point? So we're only still a couple years into that journey. So it's really cool to hear you've managed to, you know, close 2.3 million dollars in sales in that first kind of sales tech year. And you always had this sounds like sales inkling or leaning. You knew that that's where you wanted to be. Those are the skills you wanted to acquire. So at what point did it move for you? Like how quickly did you move from this like technical knowledge and learning the technical side of um, HVAC versus leaning in now into the sales and observing how some of the guys, the sales techniques they use?
Great question. So I would say it's after HVAC school, because through HVAC school I had no knowledge of sales. I still thought I was just going to be like a wrench turning installation guy who like never sold anything. But it wasn't until the first I believe it was week where I was outside of school and I started going to the meetings with all the technicians and got assigned to ride with someone. We actually had an on-site where it was basically a consultant team coming to our company basic and giving us like more knowledge to move us forward. It was a company called Reignite Sales. And there was a guy there who owns Reignite Sales. His name is Devin Murphy. And instantly I connected with him. And right in my point of view, I didn't know this was going to be sales. I thought this was a pathway to ownership. I thought this was a pathway to entrepreneurship. I didn't see this as a pathway to sales. So I liked sales, but I didn't think that's what I signed up for. And so I'm sitting through a meeting and I'm hearing this guy like talk about HVAC technicians making $500,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $1 million a year. There's a guy out there making $2 million a year, and they're selling this, that, and my mind is just like blowing up because I didn't know that that amount of income and that amount of legacy was something that was able to be created just being an HVAC technician. When you think of the repairman, you think of like the butt crack plumber, just the guy that you call out, that stinks probably and is overweight and has like a real southern accent or something like that, and has a whole bunch of tools and like a rink-a-dink truck, right? You don't think of that person as someone like who you want to be, that you look up to, someone who makes as much money as a doctor or even more, right? Who can live a premium lifestyle and provide for their family, is truly fulfilled with what they do. So when Devin was saying these things, it just kind of blew my mind, and being able to kind of speak with him after, um, and have them work with us and seeing like the techniques that they were teaching us in these meetings were things that I've never heard or would have thought that we could have ever done. And truly all that it was, Ethan, was just how can you serve your customer to the highest capability? How can you give them the most amount of service that anyone has ever given them before? It's not about Oh, how do you close more deals? Oh, how do you convince people and persuade people to do things they don't want to do? It's this is your customer. Treat them like they're your grandma or the person that you hold closest to you in your life, and how would you treat them if you were in their house? And hearing how to do that properly is what flipped the switch because remember, not only did I want to make a whole bunch of money, but I wanted to sleep at night knowing that I was doing the right thing. So having someone come in and give us the information like that, and it wasn't, oh, this is how we're gonna all be millionaires by, selling HVAC systems to grandmas. Like it really drew me in closer. To from that moment on, I was locked in. And I knew that I needed to learn
Hmm.
everything that this guy was talking about because the life that he painted, he sold me the dream of what an HVAC technician could be. And when I saw around
Was
me
there?
and uh
Yeah, I was going to say, did he? Was it more of a mindset in serving, or did he actually provide you? Was there kind of practical tips as well in terms of having that conversation with clients?
100%. So it was the mindset piece of it, and then it was, "Okay, so now you achieve this mindset, how do we actually go and do this effectively?" And
Yeah,
so
and
it
you come
was the
across
practical
as
piece.
a nat. Would you say you're naturally sort of extroverted, personal person in terms of being able to be social and friendly with people?
I would. I would, to
Yeah,
a certain
and so
extent.
because that, yeah, because that I can see that. I mean, even right now, just as we're talking, I can just feel it coming off you. It's great. Um, just for some people out there that I can see maybe are feeling or asking questions, they're not naturally sort of extroverted in that way, or they, not all that aware. Was there any what you learned from Devon? Was there any key tips? Maybe it was in terms of tone or the way you ask questions or something
Right.
that you found actually did help you, even though you're naturally that way. You're like, oh, that's what I should be doing. That's how I should be communicating to get across this genuine mindset. Because sometimes
Yeah.
people miss it.
Well, to respond to that question, to kind of take it like a different is that being extroverted in sales, I've seen has actually hold me back more than it's pushed me forward. And the reason I
Okay.
say that is because I've talked myself out of so many deals, and I've missed
Wow. Yeah,
so
I
much
can see it.
key information that customers have given me, but because I'm so focused on what I'm going to say, I messed up on the number one most important thing to do in sales, and that's to listen. So the
Hmm.
introverted person who is quiet, if they're listening to this right now, they need to understand that the best salespeople are introverts and the best salespeople are quiet. So,
They don't overwhelm the customer. They don't
oh,
talk over the customer or come across pushy at all.
absolutely.
They're just listening. Actually, Sam, we had Sam on a couple episodes ago who does a lot of sales training,
Sam
and
Wakefield,
he's close it. Yeah, yeah,
Close It Now
with Close
podcast.
It,
Yeah, yeah,
his
yeah.
company,
I have a
Close It
podcast with
now.
him
Yeah,
scheduled too. Yeah, he's great.
awesome. He and
I've
he
actually did a
says a
lot of
very
his
similar
trainings
thing.
too. Yeah.
Hmm. And I think that is what people miss is that it's almost like every personality type or whatever it is has a virtue and it has a vice. And you've got, so the extroverted person is able to, maybe create a friendly environment, is able to kind of start conversations easily, but they're very apt to talk over people and very apt to even pressure people. Whereas the introvert, they don't have those challenges. They actually are better at the listening side. However, there's the vice side of that too,
Mhm.
where maybe you do get walked over, or maybe you um, kind of don't jump into the conversation and say what you need to, because that's less of your skill set. And I think that's important for everyone to know their play to their skill sets, and then simply invest extra time in those areas where they know know that they're weaker. Um, okay, so you've got this sales experience. Tell us quickly, just because you came off a job, Uh, Tell us how that job's going through, because what stood out to me, you literally just came out of the home of a customer. You're there in the truck. What stood out to me is how interested and willing you were to spend extra time with this customer. We only spoke about it for 10 seconds or so, but your commitment to really helping them and willingness to spend extra time with them. Run us through that little anecdote and how you expect the week to go next time you scheduled another visit with them. Because I think this will get people into the mindset of, oh, if I spend this guy's spending all this extra time and he's making that many sales, maybe there's something to this.
Right. So would you like me to explain kind of how the call went and what's the conclusion from this point?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
So,
That's right. That's right.
okay, so every technician knows, right? There's like a level of calls that you want as a technician. Every technician wants a service call. What does that mean? Something's broken, it needs to be fixed. It's the easiest thing to sell
Hmm.
on for most technicians. Okay. The second type of call that technicians, I wouldn't say favor, they actually despise is called a maintenance call. You're going to a system that's already working just to check on it and make sure it's going to continue working like that and do some sort of maintenance to contribute to the longevity of that unit. Third type of call every technician hates. Nobody likes these calls. These are called the warranty callbacks. That's whenever, something fails, but whatever's failed is within the warranty. So there's like no money on that call. It's annoying. You're usually having to do a whole bunch of diagnostics. What this call was a maintenance call. Most technicians view these calls as something that's no opportunity, but I've literally sold $1 million, half of the money that I've made off of maintenance calls. Maintenance calls are so much opportunity that people don't understand. Okay. So they had two HVAC systems. They were like mixed of, one was 10 years old, one was 1 year old, and they had parts that were 20 years old. It was crazy. But before I even got to diagnosing their system and even picking up the drill, we were probably in that call for about 20, maybe 30 minutes of just communicating with the customer. And what we were doing in that time is we were diagnosing them, we were diagnosing their home. Forget about the system, right? We're diagnosing them, we're diagnosing their home, and then we're just getting to know who we have the pleasure of working with today. So we're asking questions like what their electricity bills are like. How's the dust in the house, right? How many people live here? How long do you plan to live here for? Did you just buy the house or have you lived here for a while? Have you ever had any maintenance on your system before? Things like that just to get to know more. We call that discovery, right? So after we get all the information about the house and about them, then we go to the system. So we go look at the system. I'm in a sling right now. If you didn't know, I am getting surgery. I have a torn labrum. It's going to be about 5 months of recovery. I've been in a sling for about a week and a half. So I have a partner with me. His name is Salvador. He's going to be the next big tech. I can't wait. You're probably going to do an interview with him because he's going to do so great in the industry. This guy is truly amazing. I have nothing but great things to say about him. But anyways, he's the one who's basically doing all of the, I guess, technical work for me right now since I can't do it myself. So it's calls are taking a little bit longer just because, I'm having to teach him from scratch how to become an HVAC technician, right? So we're going through the full call, we're diagnosing the system. One thing that I do that nobody else does, and as soon as I started doing it, I started making more money, is I started taking pictures and videos of the HVAC system and the things that I saw wrong and sending it to the customer. Nobody does that because every time I do it, what they tell me at the end after they hand me their card information for however many thousands it is no one's ever done that before. They tell me that. They're like, if people would have just done this, we would have made so much more sense, right? So I'm sending them information of, what I'm noticing on their system, diagnosing everything, even though we just got off of like a winter, a 5 day of snow here in Texas and Dallas. I'm still looking at their AC system. They're not going to use this thing for another couple of months. I don't care. I want to look at everything because when I'm done with them, if my name is stamped on that unit, I want to make sure I leave no crumbs behind. Everything was found because that's the level of service that I look to provide. So I look at everything. After I'm finished with my diagnostic, I brought the guy up there to actually look at everything because I noticed that sometimes, people are very technologically advanced and they love seeing everything on their phone. Sometimes people just tend to like seeing things with their face and being able to look at and point and touch. So I bring him up into his attic because that's where his HVAC systems were located. I'm pointing at him, I'm showing him things, letting him ask me questions. We do all of that. So after we're done with the diagnostic portion and we found that there's so many issues that are affecting him and his family. He had four little girls in the house. I'm sorry, three girls in the house, one little boy. They were all like under 5 years old. And, so things like air quality and having reliable heating and cooling to a family like that is very, very important. And making sure that electricity bills and repair bills are as low as possible because, you know, most people don't just have money to
Yeah, they're
spend when
trying
you
to
have that
provide.
many mouths to feed. Yeah. And so,
Mm.
after getting to speak with him and his wife, I sat down with them and, typically at this point of the call, customers' minds are everywhere because they just got and their phones blown up with all these pictures and videos of things that are going to fail. I just hooked them up in their attic and I'm showing them this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And they kind of need some like sense of calming and direction and something to kind of like ease all of the confusion. So what I do every single time is I create something called a system evaluation where I break up everything that I noticed inside of the call and I put it on a piece of, I literally have it right here, a legal pad. So I name it system evaluation and I break it up between the inside system and the outside system. And I list everything that I noticed. So I tell the customer, I'm like, hey, look, I know there's a lot going on right now. You probably don't know what you want to take care of first or what you want to take care of at all. So, what most of my customers have me do, Ethan, is they have me create something called a system evaluation, just so you can see everything on paper, so we can see a full scope of everything that I noticed while I was here. Because some
Everything that
things
might
are
need to
really
be
urgent.
done.
Yeah. Some
Do
things
you
are
ever
really
find
urgent.
customers keep going with this story, but do you ever find people are hesitant to have that much communication with you? Do you ever find people are dismissive? What do you do in those situations where maybe they don't want to be as involved or they coming across super busy? Do you have any sort of tricks or ways to
Yes,
rope them into
absolutely.
the conversation to talk to you?
Oh my gosh, I come across these people all of the time. And they're probably the most fun people to deal with to me. I actually prefer to deal with that type of person because those people are usually more straight to the point, direct, no BS, no nonsense. They want me to get to the point. But it's very easy to feel degraded as a technician during that process. But what you need to understand is that you are the professional and you hold the authority even though you're in their house. So I do a couple of things early on in the call before I even go over pricing, before I even tell them that anything's wrong with their system to make sure I avoid this in the end. One of the most important things that I've implemented in my process before I even go into their attic or look at their HVAC systems is I ask them, after of course I give them the rundown of what I'm here to do. I ask them if I was to find anything that's outside of manufacturer specifications that could cause your system to fail, what would you like me to do with that information? And what that question does is it forces that person who doesn't even want me there to either tell me, don't tell me, or to say, I want to know, let me know.
To tell you, or they puts you in a position. I love that because it's like this. You're laying down the ground rules, so there's this feeling of authority there, but you're not taking away power from them. You're not telling them what to do and making them feel small. And at the same time, you've kind of got this black and white thing going on of, it, I'm either going to do the work or you're not, making them feel like they have the choice. But it's also a really silly answer to just have you there and say, no, don't tell me. So you're actually like all these things all at once, presenting yourself as the authority, still allowing them to have choice and power, but also kind of making it seem really silly to not tell you to do the work that, maybe they're kind of impatient about. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I love all the layers to that.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm familiar, and a way I relate this to life is like sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the why and the purpose of what we're doing to make sure we're making the right decisions
Mm.
and disciplines going forward. Because if I'm just going through life without goals, without whys, without disciplines, I'm just floating and there's no purpose to that. I'm not going to get any progress from that. The whole reason I'm out there is because they agreed for me to come out there. They want someone to help them in some way. So what am I doing before I
Mm.
get started is I'm pulling the whole reason of why I'm out here to the front of this relationship and saying, because I know they didn't, because look, for most people listening to this as a technician, they're not the ones taking calls from the customer. They talk to a CSR, they talk to a dispatcher, to whatever it is, right? So I'm basically saying, hey, I remember that I'm aware of that conversation that you had with them. And I understand the whole purpose of me being here today is to make sure that you and your family can move forward the most efficient, safe, like best way possible, right? And so I just want to make sure we're on the same page before I spend 2 hours ripping apart your HVAC system up there. For you know what I mean? And so
Mm,
bringing
yeah.
that up is doing exactly what you explained.
Nice. Well, bring us back to the story then. So you're
Yeah,
up there, you've noticed the family, so that's kind of given you more things to talk about.
right,
How did
right.
it go? Because I remember you said that it ended up being not a close. It was hard because they really did want to have get multiple opinions in that. So how did you deal with that as
Okay,
the
yeah. Yeah,
call
so
progressed?
fast forward, we're building options. We're looking at replacing both of their HVAC
And you've done the
systems.
system
Exactly.
evaluation.
Yeah,
They can
yeah.
see it all. They know the
Yep,
ground.
yep. So they have all their options, and they're trying to decide what their option is. They already told me going into this. Well, let me tell you where my mindset is really quick. I don't care what they do. I'll come on here and say I get paid commission only. If they don't buy anything from me, I do not make any money. But it doesn't change the fact that I do not care if they buy or don't buy. What I am emotionally invested in is, did I serve this person correctly or not? And so what they want to do, because the outcome of the call is they want multiple opinions and this, that, and the other. And I went through objection handling and clarifying and trying to overcome. And what I told them at the end is like, look, I told them, I don't care what you do. I want to make sure I'm serving you the best way possible. So after you get all of these opinions, allow me to come back in here and let's at least see with the other opinions that you're getting. Number one, they're apples to apples to mine. So you make sure that the option that you guys are going to go forward with is actually what takes care of all of your problems that we uncovered today. Right. And I was like, look, if you have an option that's better than mine, like if another company gives you an offer that I cannot beat, I was like, let me review that for you. Let me take a look at it. And if it's something that's actually good that takes care of all of your needs, I will, from another company, I will put my recommendation to go with them. I will tell you, do business with this company because they're able to help you better than I am. Now, I don't think anyone else can help a customer better than I can. That might be egotistical thought, right? I think that with working with me, you get something that you can't get offered anywhere else, right? Because
Yeah,
the amount
that's
of
something
care.
I've heard from a number of business owners and sales
Mm.
techs is that there's both this commitment to giving them the absolute best, but there's to making sure they get the best, not you giving it to them, making sure they get it,
Right.
separate things. So you're detaching from the sale. But at the same time, this sort of under the surface thing is like, I will settle for nothing less than the best in the service I provide.
Yeah.
And so it is there, and that's an important distinction to make because if you haven't clearly delineated between those two, then it does become you being attached to the sale and it becomes you trying to just get them to work with you. But when they're two separate questions and you still answer them, it just feels like you get the benefit of prioritizing them, but knowing that you can and will provide the best.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. The moment that you are attached emotionally to the sale is the moment that you lose so much money because humans are experts. It's called a BS detector. Everyone has one. So if you come in with your commission breath, they're gonna smell it from a mile away and not want to buy anything or listen to anything you have to say. Do you want to be good at sales? Cool. Put people first, and that's where it starts at. It's not about closing, it's not about discovery, it's not about asking questions. It's about truly caring about the person that you're working with and putting all of their needs ahead of yours. And once you are able to achieve that, then you can be a salesperson. And when I say
Mm.
salesperson, I
It's
mean one that
really
could
a
actually sleep at night.
mm. Yeah, not the sleazy kind. It really is a domino mindset where, um, if you kind of get this approach correct and you feel it, it all the other pieces sort of naturally fall into place. Because when you do genuinely care, you don't jump to conclusions, you ask questions. When you do genuinely care, you want to lay out you know, all the options for people. And and so I really like that. I think more people are realizing that, especially as just this whole industry gets a lot more competitive, um, and people are needing to distinguish themselves. Simply just caring, that makes a massive, massive difference. And the guys that are letting you into their home feel it.
Yeah. I've had so many customers tell me that they'd say, "Jason, we never make a decision over $5,000 without getting 3 other bids. We never do that, but with you, we're just gonna do it." Those exact words or some form of that by multiple people
Yeah.
all the time, and the only thing that makes me different than the other company they coulda called out is the person that's in their house actually cares.
And so that this is really interesting to me because the way we actually connected, you'd reached out and I don't know how long ago that was. It was a few months, but
Yeah, it
as
was
good
like
as
in the peak of
everything's
summer.
going around you, peak of summer. So probably really busy time, right? Built on one of the busiest times.
Absolutely.
So you reach out and it was really cool because I love being in this space and it's why I have this podcast because I just want to have meaningful, real conversations with people as opposed to, just talking about marketing and all that. But, it wasn't all, rainbows and roses in terms of you're just making these sales, it's going well. On the outside, things probably looked really good to most people. But
Yeah.
what and I don't even know the full story, but I do remember you were sort of really reflecting on, is this what I wanna do? Is this what I wanna be? Seem to be getting results, but something wasn't adding up on the inside. So do you remember what that was? What sort of triggered that?
Hmm, it's a great question. Yeah. Um,
Take your time. It's a
yeah, I kinda had to think about that, you know? Um,
because it was all going great, right? And
yeah, yeah.
you're making the money and you're going to bed at night knowing you're serving people. And yet something was still off. Um, was it yeah,
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
or maybe you don't know. That's fine too.
Right, no, no, no. So, earlier okay, the way I'll put it is like this, right? At the time, I'm 19, I think I just recently turned 19, or maybe I wasn't even 19 yet, still 18. But my whole life, I've never made, like, great money, right? My parents, we moved here from Chicago to Texas when I was 8 years old, and we never came from much. It was always just, like, lower middle class. And, then we start a business and we build a business, and that's a whole other story in itself, but that wasn't just, like, a crazy growth either. So my whole life, my parents took very good care of me, but, like, we were never, like, had an abundance of money. Now I'm sitting here and I'm 18, 19, and I have almost like $10,000 coming in every single week. And so most people we run this race of life and we think that the way to win it is by getting money. But what people
Mm,
don't realize is that once you get the money, now you have to look inward because money is just level 1. That's just being able to have some sort of freedom. So now once you're not worried about going to work the next day, now, once you're not worried about how am I going to pay for this, you start looking inward on yourself and you start realizing how broken you are. And you start realizing how lost you are and why everything's just so messed up within you, but you never saw it because you were so distracted chasing money.
mm.
So I got
Yeah, I
to a
can see that. You
uh-huh.
you sorta 'cause I a big part of what I do, a lot of church involvement, different things, and having similar conversations with people. And the repeated thing that I've seen people share, similar to what you have, is it's like even before you realize what the real problem is, you do know there's a problem. And there's this hope maybe that if I make enough money, that maybe it'll fix that.
Once I have enough
Yet,
money.
yeah. And some people, the scary thing is, so what I love about your story, and I haven't heard the end of it, and it's of course still going, but a lot of people will actually think the answer is just, oh, I haven't gotten enough money yet, you know? Yeah, so you say $10,000 a week, and I know a lot of guys are going to be like, "Oh, man, if that's what I had, things would be so set." You know, the next entrepreneur, the other guy, um, you know, he says, well, it needs to be 20,000, needs to be 50,000, needs to be 100,000 in terms of that craving. And my belief is that it will actually never satisfy. So it's really encouraging to hear that at that early age, rather than chase it for 20, 30, 40 years and realize at the end there's something else more meaningful. Um, you've realized now. And so that that's humble, Jason. Not a lot of people get there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. You know, I call it my midlife crisis. I call it my
Oh
midlife
my gosh,
crisis.
I can hear some guys that are in their 40s or 50s going through their midlife crisis. I think this 19-year-old going through his midlife crisis. But it's good. We don't want to, have to have unnecessary delay. If you can find what is truly going to make you happy, um, that we need to go after that with everything.
Yeah. So, and to continue that story, to sum it up, I am the most selfish, narcissistic person that you will probably ever meet. I am the opposite of humble, is what I've learned about myself. The only person that I care about in this life that I've learned truly is me. And and so what was I battling during that time? I was battling that thought process right there. Because I'm learning that I have fulfilled my needs and I still feel terrible. I've put me first,
Hmm.
I've put everyone else last, I've focused on myself, and I feel terrible. And the only thing that could make me feel something again, make me feel like I was like where I should be, that made me feel like I shouldn't go jump off of a bridge, is putting other people first and caring about their needs. Putting myself last so I could help others was the thing that gave me a new sort of purpose in life. So it was a whole switch of my mindset to me first to now it's you first. And I find my pleasure and fulfillment through that.
Yeah, there is a there's an interesting picture here that comes up for a lot of people, because what I think I actually hear you saying is, because there's a way it's me first, right? And then you can see with the world around you, though, that the only way to get what you want is by putting others first. And so you end up, like we just said before, if you want to be the most successful HVAC salesperson, if you genuinely care about your customers, then you're going to get that sale. Chances are, compared to the other people in that area. And so there's this interesting sort of dynamic where you're actually prioritizing others, but there's actually an underneath motivation is that you do want to make that sale. And what you said, there's sort of there can be this narcissism, and if that's where it ends, I think if that's where it ends, that's where the dissatisfaction that you're talking about comes in, because ultimately, because obviously you're doing successful in sales, and so you've learned to prioritize people, and that's real, and so you're sort of realizing, oh, that's not enough. like just to prioritize other people. And the reason I'm going in that direction, and I will get your thoughts on this actually, it reminds me of a Bible verse um, where Jesus says, um, "He who he who seeks to keep his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will find it." And I might be butchering that quote, but there is this sort of interesting look. If you try and keep it to you, you're going to lose it. But then if you choose to lay it down, if you choose to lose it, and I think that fundamental way underneath that is, giving it to Jesus, um, then you actually end up finding true life. And I know there's more to your story. We've spoken a little bit just in terms of coming to Jesus, but I think that is really kind of surprising to people because Jesus is actually using the motivation. They're saying, "Don't you want to keep your life? It's okay to want things. It's okay. Like you want to be happy. You want to keep your life and not lose it, but you have to. The way you're going to keep it is by actually losing it." And so
Wow.
I think
I've
there's just that
never heard it broken
interesting
down like that
kind of.
before.
I felt like that's what you were just saying. Like and I do know a bit more of your story, so I'm able to kind of piece it together. But there is this kind of layer of almost anything we do. I think to a large extent, there is a kind of self motivation involved, right?
Yeah.
Because even if you're wanting to serve them the best, it's because for some reason you've determined that that makes you feel good, right? You've decided that it actually feels good to genuinely serve people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's that self. And so how does that, because I think you said you found that dissatisfaction. I think that kind of came from realizing that still selfishness was at the core. But in having a come to Jesus moment, in realizing it actually fundamentally isn't about me, it's about God, it's about Him and the impact He wants me to have on other people, then you can be genuinely others focused. That's sort of the shift maybe I'm reading into um, what you're talking about. People are probably surprised. I talk about marketing half the time and business stuff, but man, I got my Bible here in the background. I was reading it before.
Come on, let's
This is
go.
this is what really matters.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, we are the most selfish. Everything we do is selfish, right? You can go give $500,000 to a homeless person for no reason, but the purpose of why you did that is because it makes you feel good, and you were trying to fulfill that need because you are selfish and you care about how you feel. We are wired to be that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. We are wired to always want more, and there is nothing wrong with that, right? Like just like how you were relating it to the quote of Jesus, it's okay to want things. It's okay to, want to eat the best foods and go on the best vacations and have the most prettiest wife that you could ever have. It's okay for that to happen. We're wired to be that way. But it's when you consume your life around that and try to take unethical ways to get there is where the line gets crossed at. And I
Mm,
think what
yeah.
I've realized, especially in life, is that if I want the most success and I want the most riches and I want the people to be the best towards me and I want the most luck, then I have to go put that out in the world and it will find its way back to me tenfold almost every single time.
And there's so much more to talk about on that front. I mean, people have spent thousands of years trying to figure out the depths of the human soul and how motivation works and how God works. And I do think there's a lot more to that. And all of us are on that journey wanting to know how to do it the right way. Because, like you said, maybe the easiest summary is you could be doing everything right on the outside, yet something still wasn't satisfied on the inside. Right. And I think what many have found, what I've found, and what I believe you're finding, Jason, is that you that if unless laying it down and actually doing it for the glory of God, to enjoy God and to have relationship with God, that's what we were talking about before as well. Um, then ultimately it does end in that sort of meaninglessness. And that's I don't often most probably 1 out of 10 conversations actually go this way with the podcasts. It's only if people are sort of inclined in that direction. But I think that's an encouraging thought to people. Because whether it's having success or not having success, I don't know. What do you think? Whether they have success or not, there is actually a way to find true success,
Yeah,
and that's through relationship with God. And
for sure. I think that if you don't find what works for you when it comes to your purpose of life, rather that's like religion or, in my belief, Christianity, doesn't matter if you're rich or if you're poor, that you don't
mm,
have a purpose, right? And if you don't figure that out, what's the purpose? Like, once you find okay,
mm,
for me, it's Jesus, and I'm
the
just gonna
purpose, yeah.
preach on it. If you're listening to this, I'm not pressuring you to be into Christianity or whatever, but I'm just gonna speak from
Amen.
my personal experience, right? And hopefully that this testimony can convict you to, look more into it and feel that way for yourself. But everything is surface level, physically. Let me elaborate on that. If I eat food, I was hungry, now I'm not hungry. Okay. If I, go to the restroom, I have to go to the restroom. I went to the restroom. It's surface level emotions. But as humans, we are not just a flesh. There's something inside of us that makes us feel things at a deeper meaning. That's why no other animal has that except us. We are complex thinking, and it's our soul inside of us. And every single person has one. And because every single person has a soul, there are desires that are given to you that you need to fulfill. And that's the only way for your life to become purposeful and meaningful. So, what I'm saying
Mm,
is that if I do not find that alignment of my soul and my flesh, I can give my flesh everything that it wants and needs. I can be the richest, I can
and
be
your
the
and your
most
soul never
physically,
actually gets to that
and you are
satisfied
empty.
state. Yeah.
You're empty on the inside. I was empty on the inside. This isn't me convicting anyone or pointing my finger. It's me pointing the finger at myself. I was empty. Why? Because
Mm,
I'm 19. I live in my own house. I have a nice car. I have a nice job. I can go do whatever. I can take all types of girls on these types of dates. I can go take trips, which I was doing. And I looked in the mirror and I just wanted to cry. I looked at the ledge of my apartment being like, man, maybe I
mm,
should just jump off of it because I've gotten everything that everyone ever told me was the meaning of life. And I feel terrible. I feel worse than I did before. So someone's rich, cool. I mean, that's just surface level. The real treasure is inside. The real treasure is fulfilling your soul. And then everything else comes after that. It's just like what we talked about earlier. If you care about your customer, the sale will come. If you care about your soul, all the desires of your flesh will come. But delayed gratification is something that we struggle with as humans. We think that
yeah, everyone wants to have it now, and not necessarily go through the learning and growth process that comes. And it's good. I think your main encouragement there, Jason, I love the kind of the sales tips and your growth there. And then we're kind of getting to something more fundamental. And really the pure encouragement there is, if you're not sad, look, pursue the sales, pursue building the HVAC business, pursue all those things. But if it's not making you happy, really take a step back and ask yourself, what is your purpose? What were you created for? And I know that's for me. I used to define my identity a lot based on work, based on performance. If things were going well, I was going well. If things were going bad, I was going bad. But there is a way to have our identity not in everything that's fake and broken, but to actually find that in the God who created us. And so yeah, like you said, there's never any expectation or pressure, but just the desire to put that out there for people that, if the money you're making isn't working or the business you're building, um, it's worth exploring.
it's worth exploring. And if that's a decision that someone decides to make, it's
But who
not
are we?
about.
You're 19. I'm mid 20s. We're just a couple of young guys trying to figure out life,
Yeah,
and I
we're
love
all
it.
we're all
These
confused and we none of
conversations.
us know what's going on.
There's a yeah. We and that's why I'm just so grateful to God that for all He's done for us. So let's what would you say? Final encouragement, Jason, just in terms of I know we spoke about life, your journey, and where you've come back now. You actually said you kind of went all the way into sort of an intense religion, and now you've come back to just making it about relationship with Jesus, and you're back in your flow with the sales technician, and things are going well. What would be just that final core encouragement for a young person, or even for an older person? What would you want to leave them with just as we finish up?
You have one life, and it doesn't matter about your past mistakes. It doesn't matter about the times that you messed up. It doesn't matter about the opportunities that you missed or the times that you treated people bad or whatever it may be. The only thing that defines you is what you do right now. You have the opportunity today, as you are listening to this, to change the whole trajectory of your life. And all that takes is a decision to be moving forward in whatever way that is for your life. So, what I'm trying to say is you can change your life by making a decision by saying, I'm not going to be this way anymore. I'm going to do
I
this
like
instead.
don't settle. Don't just settle for how things are. If something doesn't feel right, do something about it. Whether that's not get enough sales, shift it. If there's something more internal that's not working out, look for answers. And I think that's the encouragement that there actually are answers, whether it's learning how to approach sales a better way or understanding the meaning of life. Um, uh, there are answers out there for everyone, and I'm seeking them. Jason is seeking them. All the other guys I've interviewed are also seeking them. Did an interview with Zach a couple episodes ago who had a similar story. He was in roofing, transitioned to marketing, and a big part of that was kind of letting go of this money hungry um, business mindset and realizing what God had done for him and how God saw him. Uh, yeah, that's really great to hear your story, Jason, and would love to have you back on at some points. You smashed that record, personal record, this year, and who knows, maybe you'll be moving state and starting your own company at some point.
We'll see what the future holds, only God knows. Ethan, the pleasure was absolutely
God,
mine. I appreciate it.
hey, thank you for joining me, man. Um, Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed that conversation, and look forward to sharing more of these soon.